but for like 3 years, right? Like, I'm getting about 45 minutes of sleep a night for about 3 months, right? Because my first baby, the Lord was like, I'm gonna teach you something. And so I'm like, I ain't getting no sleep. Like, it's stress and everything. Like, I'm fighting with my wife. And so I remember one time, this is like the scariest moment as a dad, right? And so, and girls, we could talk about these things. I mean, okay, so I was holding my baby girl, right? She's like 4 months old at this moment. It was my turn, right? It's like 3 in the morning, right? And I'm like crazy. I don't know how to think through stuff. And she just won't stop crying, right? Like, and again, at 3 a.m. when it's dark, everything's louder. You know what I mean? Like, it's like at 1,000, and I'm like, man, come on. And I'm trying to be gentle, right? I'm like, oh, it's my little baby, right? Like, God's precious. I'm like, come on, baby girl, right? Like, and so she's just like, and she's like louder, and I'm like, duh! And so I remember, again, I don't know you, so I'm just gonna be straight up honest. Like, these guys know, but it's okay. I'm holding her, and this is where you think I'm crazy. I just tell her, just shut up, right? And I was like, oh my God, I am insane. And so, I kid you not, I tell my 3-month-old daughter, 4-month-old daughter to shut up, right? And I put her down, and I walk back, and I literally put her down. She's like still flipping out, because I'm now yelling at her, right? She ain't sleeping now. I'm moving back, and I'm like, where did that come from, right? Like, what the heck, man? And I pull back, and I'm like, yo, that's dangerous, right? Because again, like, so I do a lot of counseling, a lot of abuse counseling, a lot of divorce counseling, right? And all the time, people are like, I don't even know how we got here. I'm like, I kind of understand, man. Like, when the heart is unchecked, like, I get it. I get why people do what they do in that moment, right? It's a split second when you can't control something. You know what I'm talking about? When you can't control it, that thing flips. And I stood back, and I was like, whew, I gotta go get some counseling. Like, immediately, I was like, something's really messed up in here, and I need to go get that checked. And it came to this verse. My counselor brought me to this verse. It was like, don't you know that, man, the heart is wicked upon all else? And so I bring this passage to you guys because, man, some of you guys are like, man, forget anger. I gotta deal with it. And I'm like, no. You got it somewhere. It's in there. And if you've not really dealt with it, and you're not constantly putting that sucker in check, it's gonna come out. Because I'll tell you how it comes out. Stress, right? External factors are gonna do it to you, right? You go broke, something happens, there's a hurricane, it's like 1,000,000 degrees for like 1 billion days, right? Like, something happens. That thing flips. Why? Because our heart is the thing that's messed up. Right? Not our actions. Our actions are just consequences of it. Why does Jesus do this so early? I'm like, if I was like Jesus' PR person, I'm like, yo, save that to the end when they're following you, right? Because I don't think that's gonna get them to follow you, Jesus, man. Like, ain't smart. And I think why he does this is because he's like, at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, he tells this story about a house that is on the rock or on the sand. You remember that story? Right? It's a children's song. But if you think about it, he says this: whoever listens to my words and does them is like a wise man who built his house on a rock. The fool hears this stuff, doesn't care whatsoever, walks out of the door, right? Signs off, logs off, and just does whatever they want. And just like, you know why they're wise if you listen? Because everyone's got that junk, right? And if you don't deal with it, it's gonna eat you. Like some of you guys right now, like that's your literal testimony. Like you're angry and you don't even know it, right? And you're angry at you're angry at your parents, right? Or a sibling, or a teacher, or someone who broke your heart, right? Or God himself. Like you're angry and you're pissed and you're just like, I'm good, right? I'm not killing nobody. I don't deal with that. But man, you're sitting here, you're stewing and stewing, And the freedom that God and through Jesus is trying to give you is like, I'm here to give life. Because it's going to be hard, man. Like, you keep going down this thing, you're going to end up killing yourself and your sanity. But man, if you listen, if you follow the rest of the verse, he says this. You want to know how to get rid of anger? You confront it straight up. You release that anger by reconciling to whoever has wronged you, right? Leave your altar, leave your gift at the altar. Do this. Man, what that's going to look like for some of us right now, man, again, this is why Jesus was so loved and he was given, there's so much peace, but he was so hated at the same time. Because he doesn't just be like, hey, check this off, check this off, check this off. He goes, no, where's your heart? And what this is going to mean for some of you guys, this is a text message to be like, hey, we need to talk, right? And for some of y'all, it's going to be awkward and hard. And for some of y'all might need to bring a third party because it might be scary, right? Like for me, right, my first thing with my daughter was I had to confess to my wife. I confessed to my 4-month-old. She don't understand English at that point, right? And I'm like, hey, but I had to do this because look, why? Because she would have ratted me out. She ain't gonna rat me out, right? But why? Because I knew if I'm not constantly keeping a check on this, it's gonna boil up to something even crazier. And here's the freedom today. Jesus goes, hey, do you want to be free? Do you want to make sure it doesn't escalate to something where, man, yeah, you might get some crazy consequences? Then reconcile, right? Do the hard work. And here's the thing. Let's be honest. I think some of you guys were. A lot of us are just like the Hulk in Avengers 1. I don't know if you remember that reference. He's like, hey, you should probably get angry. And he's like, I'm always angry. Right? He's like, and then he turns into the Hulk and just smashes things. Right? And I think that's us. And for some of you guys, like, I can't get out of this. Right? Because you're just like, smash. Like, that's just you. And this is where the beauty of the gospel comes in. Because you're like, hey, I'm so messed up in here. I don't even know where to go. And this is the beauty of Christ in the gospel. Jesus gives you a new heart. He doesn't just go, hey, fix your messed up, angry heart. He's like, no. I got something better for you. I got you a new heart. And through me, I'm going to fix it. You just trust me that I'm good. And you trust me that I'm faithful. And you trust me. Because here's the thing. Of all people, Jesus was called a blasphemer, right? He was reviled, like they cursed at him. Like, have you ever been spit on, like physically? Like, that would piss me off. Like, I was just walking down the street, someone spits on me, right? Not only is my shirt dirty, but you can insult me like that, I'm gonna punch you in the eye, right? Jesus gets spit on, gets nails through his hands and feet. He gets betrayed by one of his boys, right? Like, have you ever been betrayed? Like, betrayed. Someone where you're like, you're my groomsman, right? You're my bridesmaid. Like, you're gonna do that to me with a kiss, right? Of all people who should have been lights out angry, it would have been him. He was misunderstood. Anyone misunderstood and just try to defend yourself and you're just angry at that? Like, someone said something that you just like, what? Jesus was misunderstood and he was turned away and he was killed for it. The man who should have been the most angered of all human beings said, hey, come to me. I got you. All your anger towards your parents, your friends, that person, God himself, put it on me. Let me soak up all of your bitterness and anger. Let me absorb it all. And he takes it onto the cross. He says, you kill me. Sin kills me, so you don't have to kill each other. I'm going to restore the dignity back into relationships. Don't kill each other no more. And just kill me. And he takes that and he buries it in the ground. And then he raises up a new person. Right? That's the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's the freedom from anger, pain, suffering. But it's going to cost you. Do you believe? Right? Freedom's there. Guys, You gotta listen to this. I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of testimonies of people who just held on in high school. You know, small, but it kept brewing and brewing, and it just consumed them. Don't be like that guy. Don't be a fool and walk out of here without things changed. Let's pray. Father God, we ask now for courage. Because this is the part of the night where it's difficult. It's where now, if we've heard your Spirit, then we gotta respond. And that response is gonna look very different for a lot of us. That response is gonna require a text. That response is gonna require a really hard conversation tonight or tomorrow or this weekend. This conversation is gonna do some really deep soul searching, going, hey, what's eating me? What have I done with my words, of how I treated the people sitting even next to us? Is there baggage left unchecked? God, I pray over these students now. They may be wise. They'll trust Jesus, that he is the one who can absolve them of their sins, but also absorb that anger that they have. So God, as we respond, may you remind us of your beauty and your goodness. In Jesus' name, pray.
So what we're about to do, can you turn me on? Okay. Go ahead. Test. Okay, so guys, what we're about to do is we're going to sing More Like Jesus one more time. Here in a minute, I'm going to ask y'all to stand. But this time when we sing More Like Jesus, I want to do something a little different. I want everyone to detach yourself